dream broke, but it's clear now. No handouts, had to gear down. Now what they fear now. No money, millionaire, we here now. Got scars, but I wear that crown. Turn pain to a real account. No money, no excuses, no limits.
Welcome to the No Money Millionaire podcast, where we teach you to build wealth from the inside. I'm Dave Webb, your No Money Millionaire. Today's guest built one of the most prolific media platforms in the world by telling other people's stories and showing why every voice matters. My guest today is Adam Torres, host of the Mission Matters series, ranked in the top 2.5% out of more than 3.4 million podcasts. He's conducted over 6,000 interviews, founded Mission Matters, and built a media, branding, and publishing platform with more than 100,000 pieces of content. Before launching into media, Adam spent 14 years in financial services, managing relationships for over 400 families with a combined net worth of more than $500 million. He's an international speaker, an author of multiple business and investing books, and his insights have been featured in outlets like Forbes, Yahoo Finance, Fox Business, and CBS. Adam, welcome to the show.
Oh, man, I'm ready to be here. Come on, man. I'm ready to have some fun.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So, for people hearing you for the first time, how do you describe yourself and the mission behind everything you do?
I describe myself as a conduit. I think that a lot of the things I'm doing, if you look at the way our platform was built, if you look at everything we do really at Mission Matters, and just what gets me excited, what gets the other co-founder, his name is Shrag Sagar, what gets him excited, our conversations aren't really about like how do we, build the business in the traditional sense. Like when we're developing products, when we're thinking about new platforms, or even when we're launching shows, the idea has always been like, how do we amplify the voices of others? How do we give voice to those that either maybe were underprivileged so they didn't have the opportunity to have their voice heard, or maybe they're not underprivileged, they're highly successful in business and they just don't know what to do. So we kind of cover that entire spectrum of like, how do we get a story out there? How do we get it told? And the things that we do, whether it's sending out a podcast, whether it's a book, whether it's whatever the vehicle is, that's just a vehicle. But at the end of the day, we're still helping getting those stories out.
Nice. So before the books and the interviews and the media empire, what were the earliest influences that shaped how you think about work, opportunity, and impact?
Well, we're taking, because as a Detroiter yourself, and I'm a Detroiter, so we got to take it back to Detroit for that one. And these are funny stories, but they're true. And oddly enough, I didn't plan on talking about this until you told me you're from Detroit. But and I have a book coming out. It's called 1 Billion Podcasts: The Future of All Media. And in that book, I talk about my earliest memories of business and who influenced me. And being in LA and maybe wearing a suit every day and being in front of camera the way I am, people expect me to be one way, but I'm like, my earliest influence that I remember as a kid, period, Master P. Watching him. Wow. and him getting that distribution deal, not even knowing what 9 figures was, and just even hearing the story as a little kid of some guy that you saw on TV that was selling records out of his trunk could actually do it and make it on a world stage and on a world level. Man, that blew my mind. It was unbelievable to me. It's still unbelievable to me, by the way. Changed the entire music business and game from his trunk. Insane.
It was amazing. And I recently heard Snoop Dogg giving Master P amazing credit, talking about Snoop Dogg hadn't done much with his money or what. And when he got with Master P really taught him, said, no, you need to be doing this and helping him. And he gives Master P a lot of credit.
And he came from what I like about him, which I didn't know at the time. I was too young. All I was putting together was how did this guy, I knew I was young, I was old enough to know the idea that he made a record, he sold them out his trunk, and he was doing a legal business, and he was making money, and that he got, distribution. I understood what all those things meant, but I didn't know until like my later years that he was a coach. He was an athlete at heart, like in terms of his methodology, and he was always lifting people up around him. If you really look at his philosophy, even what he's doing now, like outside of music, he was always lifting his community up. He was always lifting people up around him, and he was made capable capable, I like to say, and that was his. So if he was a conduit, that was his gift. That is his gift, is to be able to lift those people up around him.
I just recently saw that he's doing a coaching program. I just recently saw, I forget who was with him. There was somebody else, but they were doing a coaching seminar, some type of coaching program.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So that was my earliest influence that I remember in business. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good one. I mean, he did a lot. I heard that he started it with $10,000 is what I heard. I read somewhere
that sounds
he started
right.
what he did with 10 grand and I mean, look at him now.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. So you started in finance long before Mission Matters. What did that teach you that still shows up in your work today?
Well, the first thing it taught me was possibility. And I'll tell you, going back to taking it all the way back to high school. So my first gig in finance was I worked for was Roney and Company, which was then bought by Raymond James, and that was when I was in high school. So I'd work like 1-2 hour, or I'd go to school, I should say, to about 2 hours a day, maybe 3. And my second and third year of high school, then I went to the brokerage firm right across from Hart Plaza, and that's where I first started to kind of understand what possibility was. Now this would be late 90s, prior to the tech wreck. We're talking maybe 98, 99 in that time frame to 2000. So we haven't hit the 2002 tech wreck yet. So at this point, things are just going crazy. You put a .com at the end of anything and it's going to rise, the stock at this point in time. The internet was just so new, and the concept, and people didn't know how the values were supposed to be, and there was just all this fervor. So I just remember being from, Southwest Detroit. I'm from an area where people don't travel. They don't have a lot of extra things most of the time. So I remember just going to the office and hearing these brokers and talking about, submitting expense reports and taking trips to even Chicago or to Florida or other things to go meet clients. And man, that was my earliest thing. I was like, wow, if I could ever get to that point to where I could have an expense account and take some trips, that'd be a dream come true. That opened my eyes to just possibility, because I didn't know people like that when I was growing up. Nobody in my household wore a suit and tie to work or anything like that, or none of my family that I can remember, at least. None of them were from that class. So that was new to me. It was like, whoa, this is amazing. I want some of that.
I can understand. I touched briefly on where I'm from, and it's so ironic that you're from Detroit. I didn't know before you were coming on that you were from Detroit.
Come on, baby, Detroit.
Yeah,
where's Big Sean? Conference him in. Come on, Big Sean. Where you at?
That's right. And, I tell the same stories. I'm from the inner city of Detroit, and I didn't have any. I didn't really have any role models. Nobody that I didn't know anybody buying real estate or investing in real estate. I didn't know anyone that owned their own home. Where I'm from, even from where you're from, Southwest Detroit, it's it's bad there.
Yeah.
There's not.
It was a different time period. It was a real different time period. Totally when we were growing up.
Yeah, definitely. So you manage relationships for high net worth families.
Yeah.
And you were deep in financial services, and then you pivoted.
Yeah.
What was the actual turning point that pushed you into media?
It was, it's one of those things where I like to say, really, God helped me make this decision hardcore. I was definitely, I definitely pray. I'm definitely always looking for guidance. And I had the original concept was I wasn't going to be in the media business or anything like that. I probably one of the few people that come to LA, and I'm like, I'm going to be a financial advisor in LA. Why? Because they have more money, right? That was pretty common sense. But I worked my way up through various companies, and I launched my own company. And when I did that, at the same time, one of my mentors, he says, you got to write a book. And I'm like, I don't want to write a book. At this point in time, I don't know anything about story. I don't know anything about marketing. I'm just a finance guy. All I know is numbers. That's it. I know numbers. Does this make money or does it not make money? That's it. That's as far as I could look. So I remember thinking, I don't want to write a book. Broke people write books. What am I going to do with a $5 book? What am I going to do? Make $5? How many things do I got to sell? What is this? This doesn't make any sense. But he's like, no, Adam, you got to do it. And I'm like, okay, one thing about me, I'll listen to my mentors. If you got to do it at the end of the day, you hire somebody, you want their advice. If you don't take it, Come on. So I write the book and things just start happening. Like I'll find myself on a speaking tour in China, like all this crazy stuff. All of a sudden I'm on stages and I'm getting paid to speak instead of paying to speak, which if you've ever been a financial advisor and know how that works, you pay a lot of money to put butts in seats so that then you can speak in front of them and then sell them to be your clients, like simple business model, right? Well, I found that started to flip and all of a sudden I'm getting paid to speak and I'm like, what? Because of this book. So it was like magic to me. So I'm out here giving out the book and promoting it, doing all of that, and then people started asking me, could I help them publish a book? And I'm like, no, I'm a financial advisor. I'll manage your money, but then I looked at the people that I was saying no to, and I'm like, oh, they got money. I want them to be my clients. They're good people. Sure. They seem like they'd be fun to work with. So after maybe the third or the fourth person asked me, can I help them publish a book, which I thought was completely ridiculous, by the way. I was not holding myself out as a book publisher. I wasn't at that time a book publisher, but I'm like, all right, let me figure it out then. Fine, these people want to do a book. But so I looked at all the different models, and then I was like, if I was to do a book, I like the chicken soup for the soul model, the anthology model. So you could a group of authors put them together in one book. So I said, if that worked for Jack Canfield and Deepak Chopra, maybe I can, do something with it. So we created a business leaders book series like that. We published now over 400 authors in that best-selling series, and we're on, I think, what are we on now? Like we've done maybe 15 editions, I feel like, in different niches and different things like that. And that's over the last 9 years, by the way. So we're about 15 editions in, maybe a little bit more actually, if you count some of the other editions. But and it was just as that was growing in the early years, we started the podcast, and I say we because about this time the other co-founder, Shirag, he's like, Adam, we got to do a podcast. I'm like, man, I don't want to do a podcast. All right, well, how much money are you going to make in a podcast? He's like, it'll help us sell more books. And I'm like, you get me with this every time, right? So I didn't know how to do a podcast. I love that I get to be on your show right now because I know you're early in your podcast journey, but this is for you and for everybody that's listening. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. The first person I ever interviewed was the other co-founder. I'm like, I don't know how to do a podcast. You have a fancy mic, David. You have all of that. You have that amazing background. You're set up. You got lighting. Man, you could call my first show or my first podcast could have been called Tape Recordings on Adam's Cell Phone that are unedited and uploaded. That should have been the name of the show. I did like 300 episodes like that, and we grew an audience. It's insane. Yeah. I was like, wow, no editing, nothing. It was just upload. It was just like upload the thing and whatever. I think maybe the authenticity of me telling everybody I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe they're just like, this guy's a train wreck. Let's watch him go into that wall. I don't know. But it grew, and man, it's interesting. Like it grew, and people respect the hustle, and they respect when you come and you show up year after year. And to get back to what you were asking, when did the pivot happen? It was kind of early in the journey. It was maybe a couple years in. I'm like, we had all this demand to come on the show, and I found myself in this position where, God made me a lot of things, but he also made me self-aware to know that I don't manage a lot of different things well. Some people may do that, or they may be under the illusion they do it, and they really don't. I'm good at doing like one thing really good if I just kind of focus on that. So that's why I was a financial advisor in financial services 14 years. I haven't had a lot of career changes or things like that. I've had different things I've done within financial services, but it was always that. So now when I went and I made the decision to go into media, I went full in. It was like one of those things like I can't do both. Maybe I can get my licenses again if I had to, and I had to go back to that. But I think that this is where I'm supposed to be, and God kind of put me on that path, and I've been there ever since, man. It was one of those things. I couldn't do both. I'm like, I got to pick one, and I picked media.
I understand. I'm the same way. I call myself, a lot of people will say I'm a real estate investor, and it's truly what I am. But that's, I went to business event the other day, and they name tag you, and it's a real estate thing, and they put underneath, like what you do, fix and flip, buy and hold, real estate investor, and I just put project manager down for mine. That's the way I look at myself, because my whole show is the No Money Millionaire. I teach people, especially from people back home. That's kind of what I was so used to. I was talking to everybody saying, you can do this. I can show you. You don't need money. You can do it. And so then I just ended up writing the book. But I set out to project manage. And just like you said, I'm not good. I found myself, I got to focus on the one project. I got to finish it. I've got partners that we were meeting for the quarterly meeting, and we were closing on this group of 9 homes. $1 million, 1.1, did it without a dollar out of my pocket. And I was meeting with them. We weren't closed yet, and they were already saying, "What's next, Dave?" And I said, "Just at least let me close on these houses before
What's next is this has got to close."
Exactly, and and I feel I got to finish it. But getting to the focusing on one thing, one of the properties I purchased, it was residential upstairs, and it was 4 commercial downstairs. And so I thought I was I had one store empty, and I thought, I'm going to put a convenience store in here, like back in Detroit, like the little liquor stores on the courthouse. And, when I built it out like that, and people were in the area, they said, "I've never seen a store like this." And I'm like, well, I'm bringing some influence from Detroit. And so it was neat, but it wasn't enough. It was off the beaten path. It wasn't enough. And I was too divided, and I had to pull the plug on it. I'm like, this is just, my zone is real estate. I need to stay in this zone. And I ended up having to close the store. And, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I loved your store." And I'm like, I'm sorry. It was just, I was too spread too thin, and I was looking to open another one, and I just stopped. I said, real estate is my zone. I need to focus on this and just do this. And people didn't understand it, but I understand exactly what you're talking about just being focused. I
had that understanding early on. I'm like, no, we can bring in other partners. We want to do that. Okay, that's the first thing. The other co-founder's like, "Hey, what about this?" I'm like, who's going to manage it?
Yeah, exactly.
We can use my name. We can promote it. I can do what I do, but who's the team behind it that's going to run the day to day? Because it ain't going to be me.
Well, going from that and getting your focus to 6,000 interviews, that's not an accident. So what made you commit to telling stories at that scale?
Well, I looked at, I went about, and I go about the entertainment industry the same way I went about finance. So for people, this is sometimes a buzzkill when I tell them this, but for me it was math. Like what I did was, so I looked at how I learned about finance originally. I didn't have that background. I didn't grow up with it. I had to get all these licenses. So you had, a Series 7, my 6, my 63, all that other good stuff you can think of, my CFP, like all of that stuff. So I calculated, I maybe read and digested at least 10,000 pages in order to pass all of those things, all of those exams. So in addition to like the stuff I just read on the side. So that's the way I learned. So when I started like delving into and dipping my toe in entertainment, I did the same thing. So I was reading all the biographies. So Johnny Carson, you name the person, like David Letterman, Jay Leno, like everybody, going further back, going back to the Red Skeletons, like going all the way back. Like, vaudeville, like it's all the information is there. Yeah. So when I went through all of this to present data, like your Oprahs, your Howard Sterns, your Larry Kings, all of that. So I went through all of them, and I said, well, what was the similarity that kind of peaked out for all of these people? And really, it was that they'd all done over 30,000 interviews. And so I was like, oh, they all have done over 30,000 interviews. I'm like, well, I might suck, but I probably won't suck after 10,000. And if I still suck, not after 20,000. And come on, if I can get to 30,000, then I'll probably be decent. like that was my thought. I'm like, even if I was the worst in the world at that point, So for me, it was just math. I was just like, all right, so that's my North Star. And I noticed that like every year, and so it's the aim and the goal is to always be increasing the quality and the quantity, and also the guest, like to make sure that we're consistently upskilling in guest, and also in production. But that's little by little. These are incremental things. So when I talk about incremental, just to give you an idea, I didn't even do, I was so bad at this in the beginning, just so horrible, that I wouldn't even, like, my very first show, I didn't even use my real name. I was scared somebody knew they were going to know it was me. And when we talk about like video, man, what you're doing right now, I would have died. I did over 1,500 interviews before I did a video interview. Scared to death. You put on a camera, man, I'd forget my name. Intro, forget about it. Ain't gonna happen. I didn't do my first in-person interview with someone until like after 3,000 interviews. So when I talk about scaling and skill and things like that, I'm not a natural at all. Still not a natural. I didn't do my first my first interview in front of like a live audience. I did like 5,000 interviews, somewhere along that line. So, or maybe 4,000-ish interviews. Yeah. And so looking at that, all of those things were, if you start to give yourself a little bit more time and space, and if you understand it as a craft and what it actually is, the greats, the Johnny Carson, any of these, like you look at them, they were doing it for 30 years. Yeah. The challenge and the problem, and I talk about this in my book, so 1 Billion Podcast, I talk about it thoroughly, actually. I talk about the concept that people just don't understand the sport they're getting into. They think it's a sprint, but they're on a marathon. So they're thinking that this very first leg, they're supposed to be good, or they're supposed to be getting this result, and when they don't, they quit. But they don't even realize the race hasn't even begun for them if they actually understand the craft and take time to study what they're doing. Like, you can't compare your results to somebody that's had a 30-year career. But when you start looking at the people that do hang in there and that do actually continually put out content, it works for them over time. Usually it works for them over the time. And especially in this particular medium of podcasting, unlike the greats of the old days, they were retired at a certain point. So why were they retired? Because a network executive made a decision. For us, guess what? Man, you'd be doing this thing. I talk about it in the book. I can already visualize the t-shirt I'm going to be wearing when I'm a centenarian. I'm going to be a 100-year-old podcaster. Why? Because why would I, if I'm blessed to live that long and I'm lucid and I could speak and I'm still having fun, I'm still having a good quality of life, why would I ever stop? Like, at what point in our life are we not going to want to have at least one conversation with somebody every week that's interesting and exciting? Because at that point, you're at the height of your power. You've been doing it for so dang long, you got reach. If you don't got reach now, I guarantee 100% of your money back. Podcast for the next 50 years. If you don't make any money, you can send me a bill. In 50 years, somebody's going to pull this up. I'm in trouble, David.
Okay.
Investorfy, the #1 lending source for first-time and early-stage investors. Just learned how to find your first deal? Let's get it funded. Investorfy, the only no-money millionaire certified lender. Find us at Investorfy Lending or visit our website at investorfylending.com. Investorfy, turning new investors into trained professionals. What are you waiting for? Schedule your free review today.
So we're at podcast number 7, and thank you for being part of this in the early journey with me. So we're at podcast number 7. So I have a big window there yet to go. 30,000.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what's interesting though about this is that for those that stick with it, and I think because you understand real estate, you'll get this. You're going to create generational wealth. Things happen in media because it compounds over time. This is going to be, I'll give you, I believe you mentioned that you had a kid earlier, a son, I think. Yeah. So if you have grandkids, you have other things like that. If that's in your future, if you don't already have them, then who knows? Maybe one day your grandkid's going to be a co-host. Maybe you're going to pass this show on to him in the huge audience that you accumulate over 30 or 40 years. Like it's a very powerful medium. It's different. Like the way that what you're doing, you're creating, like us being on this right now together, we're creating a piece of content that people are going to be listening to in 20 years. It's insane, but it's true. It's true. That's great. And so now when you look at it from that standpoint, the 30,000 doesn't seem, it's more like you just integrate it into your lifestyle. That's all it is. It's like, just like you go to the grocery store. Oh, I'm recording a podcast episode. That's it. You just take all the pressure off. It becomes part of your lifestyle. And then at that point, you let math and you let media and you let compounding do what it's supposed to do, just like compound interest in a real estate in investing. It's the same thing.
Sure. The title "No Money Millionaire." It's interesting to people. It's intriguing. People ask about it. What is it? No Money Millionaire, and so that alone has brought some interest. It started out. I was teaching the no money method. I was just teaching how people can buy real estate because back home from where we're from, a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people, it's a mindset problem too because they're stuck in their beliefs and that you have to have a down payment, you have to have all these structured, pieces. And so I was focused. I created a method. What I was doing, I wasn't using my own money to be able to buy all this real estate, and I wanted to share that with people. So it started out as the no money method, and then someone said, "Well, you're a no money millionaire," and I'm like, "Wow, that's a good one." That is a good one.
That is a good one. Was it on the show? They said that. What, an episode?
No, someone that works with me.
Oh, that's
someone that works with me. What the episode, the show, it was already the book that I've written was. It had already taken, form by that time. So early on, I was talking about the no money method, but by the time I had written the book and done everything, No Money Millionaire was already there. And I thought, it was a good, it's gets you thinking.
I think it's divine. I'll throw it out there. I think it's divine. Our original platform was called Money Matters or Money Matters Top Tips. I was doing an interview with somebody one day, and they said, "You know what, Adam? Money matters, but mission matters too." Hit me like a lightning bolt to my head. God just speaking to me through this person, and I was like, and at this point, just for some context, we already had maybe 2,000 episodes out under Money Matters. We already had a bunch of books. I mean, like maybe 5 books or something like that already under the Money Matters brand, maybe 10 at that point. We already had a website, a platform built. We had clients. We had, we're rocking and rolling. This is a functioning business. This is like, we're in it. And I talked to the other co-founder, Shirag, and I'm like, "Shirag, what do you think about this idea, like mission matters?" And he's like, "We're talking about it. Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah, no, it's a good idea." And so then we leave it on the table, whatever, no big deal. Maybe a couple weeks later, he calls me back and he just random. He's like, "Adam, I got an idea. What do you think about the name Mission Matters?" And he didn't even remember our original conversation. And I was like, "Shirag, that's a great idea." And I was it's one of those, no, come on, you already know. I'm like, "Man, that's a great idea." I was like, "But I'll tell you what, if we look this up, I already know it's taken on the domain because it's too good of a domain not to be taken. Yeah. But if we have enough money in the bank, will we buy it? I don't care if it empties us out, because if we don't have missionmatters.com, we can't do it. Like, it's not going to happen." He's like, "All right." So we rolled the dice. I said, "I'm not even looking it up if you don't give the go. We're just going to buy it if we got enough money in the bank to buy this thing, and it's not going to be cheap." And he's like, "All right." And I'm like, so we look it up, and I spent more money immediately on a domain than I'd ever thought I'd spend in my life. And within 9 days, we relaunched everything. We changed all the podcasts. We started from scratch on the podcast because our original hosting wasn't the right one that we would have used. So literally lost all our subscribers. We started a brand new website. We launched 30 different social media channels, all segmented towards what our 8 shows were about, and started the entire business from scratch based off of that. And so when you say what you just told me, I'm like, man, that's divine. Yeah. That's God telling you right there what it's supposed to be through somebody else, obviously. That's amazing.
Well, that and with your knowledge about the .com era and at the domain names and this and that, I was thinking the same thing. Impossible that it's available. And I didn't even have to buy it off somebody. No Money Millionaire was available. It was there.
Get out of here. That's awesome.
I swear, how rare is that? And then I looked Facebook, Instagram, everything I did, it was there for everything. So I agree with you. I think there
it's
was
divine, dude. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's all good. God is good. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. So mission matters. And so that's what it became. But now it's a major media outlet. Shows, books, branding, publishing. Give me the real version of how this was built.
Listening to your audience. For anybody that's a podcaster, including yourself, and you want to figure out how to monetize, how to make this thing grow, I'll give you every single major product. We don't really have misses on products or things that we do because they're usually filling the need of what people are asking us for. So the first one, I already told you that story, but briefly, the book. I wasn't doing a book. People asked me, could I help them publish a book? Because I did one myself. I'm like, no. I finally say yes. Boom, we're in the book publishing business, and now that's going. So then, as the company's growing, I'm doing appearances, I'm doing podcasting live, I'm doing other things, speaking. These things all generate capital. COVID hits, then what happens after that? Guess what? No more conferences, no more speaking gigs, right? So around this same time, people start asking, can we help them produce shows like podcasts? You have a podcast? I like what you're doing. Our processes were tight. They were booked. They're like, wow, I've been on a lot of shows. Nothing's quite like this. What are you guys doing? And we're like, what do you mean? This is what we do. And they're like, well, can you launch a show for us? And I'm like, no. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe we can. Because I wasn't traveling, so we had bench time. So the people that are editors and things like that, we didn't lay off anybody. We don't want to lay off anybody. So it's COVID. So fast forward, we've launched over 250 shows now. And that just came from listening to our audience. The people that we were interviewing, our network, otherwise, are like, we love what you're doing. Can you help us do it? So now we have a thriving business on the back end where we help other people launch shows and promote them and market them. So that became another part of what we do. Around that same time, PR. We're pretty big in the PR space. Why? Well, because we were doing it for ourselves at first, but then we're also a member of the media. So we're at the big events. I'm covering the big events. So we're one of the media as well. So doing PR was just pretty common sense for us. And then this all kind of like snowballed into our personal brand and personal brand accelerator, because ultimately all the things that we did to kind of grow this brand and to grow my name and our shows, some people were like, hey, how do you do that? We understand, but we want the strategy. We want to know how can we do some of the things you did for ourselves. Snowballed into the personal brand accelerator. So all these things, sometimes I get a little bit too much credit. I'm like, this was not the result of us, our team sitting in a room and thinking about what product can we bring to market that the market doesn't want. It wasn't like that. We don't sit around ideating. What happens is we listen. And if enough people in our immediate network are willing, and for our clients are willing to give us money for services that we can deliver, not stepping outside our expertise, then we figure out if we want to be in that business and if it matches our vertical, like our social media agency. We do a bunch in social media as well. All these things all fit into the processes and things we had built on the back end that we were doing for ourselves. And our clients like that, hey, you did it yourself. We understand. We're not testing on clients. No offense to anybody that does that. I mean, everybody's got to make a living. I'm not down on anybody, but we're just not. Like, we just happen to use the same processes and things that we use to build our shows. Same thing. So that was like little by little over 9 years. Each one of those things, some of those products are years apart in launching, by the way. Like, we weren't in a rush. We're still not in a rush. Like, people want to drag us into a bunch of different directions. We're not necessarily going, but we stay in our lane, you know?
And so you've interviewed entrepreneurs, entertainers, executives, and experts. You built an agency, published books, spoken internationally. Out of everything you've done, what stands out as the milestone that changed your trajectory?
For me, it would be when I really understood. In the beginning, the first couple of years, even maybe even going into maybe year 4 or 5, like we still didn't 100%, or I didn't personally understand the importance of the interviews and the quantity of interviews that I was doing. Okay. So we notice a direct correlation that when I think about what we do, like everything that you listed on that page, arguably there are many companies out there that do that. There's other book publishers. There's other okay, we're in love with it because we do it, right? Okay, great. Like who isn't in love with their business because they do it? Duh. But what's unique? What's unique? There's very few people out there are cranking out 1,500 plus interviews a year. Very few. And my record is 91 in a week, and my average was 70 a week for years. So that's not a personal I should say it's partially personal, but it's a little bit different than that. The way that I see it, and my whole ideology around that is the more individuals that I get to interview and that I get to help bring their story out, the more impact I can have. And so on my end, we talked about the 30,000, and that's what it takes maybe to be a physically great host. But for me, that might be the personal, this is my sport. Of course, this is my sport. If Michael Jordan didn't ever have to stop playing basketball, would he have? No. He'd still be killing everybody if he didn't get older, right? Yeah. So in this case, I just happen to find the sport that matches my personality. It matches what I like to do. Man, I do this all day, every day, and I'm good. Same Adam, and I have a ball doing it. I got to meet you today, amazing. I did 10 other interviews today. Amazing. I got to meet some amazing entrepreneurs and just individuals and human beings. What an amazing life. So that's one side of it. But the other side of it, and this is my Detroit side that I just can't help, I'm creating jobs. Right. At the end of the day, if I can sit up here and I can talk, and my talking can drive commerce and create jobs so that people can, feed their kids and pay their mortgages, not just my team, but those that I'm helping them get their message out, that have their own businesses or other things that are going on. I know now, I didn't know in the beginning, but I know now the power of media. And just like media has the power to, unfortunately, in some instances, decide who lives and dies, right? If we're talking about international, we're talking about wars, we're talking about things like that. Media has that power. Well, it also has the power for, who gets to eat, who gets to earn a living, whose businesses grow. So based on the type of attention and media they get, that has that power too. So in my head, it's kind of like both. I have the sport part about it where I just love it, and that's my game. And I feel like I'm Michael Jordan in the court. I have that part of me, but the other side is just the responsibility. I'm creating jobs, and that's important to me.
Well, it sounds like you love what you do, and that makes it easier to work. If you find that passion and you can actually work in that passion, do you consider it work? It's just,
yes, it's work. No, it's work. No, forget all that, David. That's not the real. The real is after you do, 15 interviews in a day, you're in the fetal position with an ice pack on your head. That's the real.
I haven't done that yet. I'm on number 7.
Dude, I don't want. And by the way, I'm glad you brought that out. That's not for everybody. Everybody, that you don't wanna. You're doing real estate. This is all I do. If I was doing real estate, or if I was investing, or if I was doing, you have other responsibilities. I have a company that was designed around allowing me to do this podcast. So that's my focus of the, you know what I mean though? Sure. So I don't, and I'm not saying that for you personally. I'm saying that for somebody that might be listening to this that wants to do a show or something else, and they're like, oh, but I can't do that, or I can't, no. Remember the beginning of this episode when we were talking and I told you I did it on my phone and it wasn't even edited. Remember that part. This is a decade later. That's a different person. That's a different time, and that's with infrastructure. But compare yourself to the original and where we started, and you're light years ahead of me. Period.
I don't feel I'm much further from there, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, man, hold on. You can turn on the camera. You got a video on you. I couldn't do that until after 1,500 episodes. You're not further ahead?
Yeah.
That's just math, man.
Yeah. what a difference though it was. I'm a talker. I love to talk, and if I could do this as a living, that'd be great. But I barely have enough time. I manage my own properties. I renovate my own properties. I got about 100 properties, and so that keeps me busy alone.
Man, that keeps you making money. You better keep making that money, man. Forget this podcast money. Go do that. Hand me some of those properties. No.
Right.
You said no money in a millionaire. We get properties for coming on this show, Dave. No.
Right. Somebody asked me. They said, funny. I've only had one person so far ask me. They're like, "No money millionaire. What does that mean?" And I was like, "It means I'm a millionaire. I don't have any money." I said, no, not, but I said that's not truly, but that's what it means. So,
great.
But what I was saying, it's easier to put in all those hours if you love what you're doing. I constantly work. I'm always working, and if I hated what I was doing, I don't think I could do it, and so you have to love it to be able to put in these hours like we do, So
I agree with you. I totally agree with that.
So with that said, and talking about you interviewing, you've interviewed more people than most journalists will in their entire career. And what patterns show up over and over again?
So depends on the show. So I can say I host 8 different shows. So I have an entertainment show, I have a business show, I have a marketing show, I have a startup garage show, I have a innovation show. So that's tech related. I have a fitness show. So if you look at all the different shows, I would say that many of them have different patterns. I have a business show, which is just your general business overall. But one thing that I will say that I feel like most people nowadays that are on trend, I kind of see trends when I go through. So this isn't for always, but this is what's going on right now. Right now, the longevity space really hot. Like it's making its way through every different show, every different interview, every different niche. There's all kinds of interesting stuff happening in longevity and also lifespan. So not just will we live longer, but will we be better and happier and healthier as we get further in age? That's one huge trend that I'm noticing across all the interviews. And then obviously AI. Like AI is in every single conversation. I don't care what you're talking about. Like AI is possibly coming up in something, and that's related, by the way. I don't care what it is. So I feel like those are the 2 trends that are currently going on right now, for sure.
Sure. I use AI all the time, and somebody that I was working with, they were getting their first property, and and in my book, one whole chapter's in there about legal. You can't stress legal enough when you're doing contracts and all that. And I don't advise anyone to just rely on AI at all. So don't take it that way. But what I did tell them to do was, they wanted to know, and before consulting an attorney, this and that. And I said, well, run it through AI. Just put your contract in AI. Tell it to look at it from the buyer's perspective. How is it? Is it heavy-handed? Is it fair? Just have it dissected for you. That's enough for you to have something to consider and some talking points. And then, before you finalize it, always, take it to legal. But it's enough, to run it through, and then I use it, for all kinds of stuff, doing leases, and AI is changing everything. So, so nobody builds something as big as what you have without friction. So, what's one challenge that almost took you out?
Oh, COVID for sure. The pandemic, that's the big one for us. It was because on one end we had our, our audience and our reach was going up because people were bored and at home. But until we figured out and we started bringing on more clients to help them launch podcasts, we didn't have as much of that reoccurring revenue. So the book side kind of went down a little bit, and then there weren't any really much appearance or anything like that because all the conferences are done, right? So everything's closed down. So COVID, that was a scary one. But if we hadn't figured out, and if we hadn't, which was awesome because it's not COVID was awesome, but it was awesome that we figured out that what we wanted to do and what was our skill of expertise at the same time just happened to be very relevant. So it wasn't unlike maybe the factory that repurposed and all of a sudden started making sanitizer, like, they were making something else before. It's not selling, well, hey, this machinery can make sanitizer or whatever else, you know what I mean? That's actually like that's selling right now. It's kind of the same for us. It was like, well, these machines, they're not machines, they're people, right? Our team, right? Well, they can edit for us. We can edit for other people too. We can build an agency. So that was the big one for us, COVID. Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that one. That's the biggest thing pretty much in any of our lives at this point.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to become a storyteller or communicator, what's step one?
I think that you mean as a podcaster, write a book, or just in general?
Just in general. If they're wanting to communicate a story, whether it's writing a book, I guess they're all kind of different.
Yeah. I'd say if we were just talking about in general, then it'd be the goal. Like, what's your goal with the story? Like why, like not necessarily your why. I'm not trying to make it like your passion of it, or can you sell the story? Like that's beyond my pay grade. I'm not that good at that. I just kind of talk pretty bluntly, and I hope they like it. There's a lot of people that can spin much better than me, but I'm talking about like, what's your goal? Like, even with your podcast, like when somebody launches a podcast and they're telling me they want to do it, I'm like, what's your goal? And then after you decide what your goal is, then you got to decide what you want to give up to hit that goal. Like, that's it. So with your story, is your story to help people with it? Yes. Okay, great. Is your story, do you want to make money from your story? Do you want to monetize your story? Yes. Okay, great. Like all those type of things, like you kind of want to lay out before you decide the medium at which you're going to distribute your story, before you decide what stories you want to share. Like, it changes. I'm reading this Howard Stern book. It's an old one. I told you I read everything, all the old ones. And he's talking about it's an old one. I think it was called Miss America. This is a really old one. I read his latest one too, which is pretty old too now. But this one he's talking about, and he says it in the book, and I laughed because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I read this in print. But he saved this story of him meeting Michael Jackson, and he never talked about it on the radio, and he never talked about it like anywhere else. And he says, you know why? Because he was saving it for a book so he could make a bunch of money from it. So think about that for a second. He was sitting on a story. Why? So he could make a bunch of money from it. So that's something for people to think about, is stories can be powerful. So you just have to first decide why you want to share, the goal of sharing the story. Like, that's the first thing I'm about, is what's the goal?
Yeah, it makes sense. I've, the few podcasts that I've done so far, and I see you kind of detoured off of it a little bit, but the why comes, to a lot of this. It's the same thing with, with the real estate, and, you got to find out your why because, here, a lot that we do is try to talk about financial freedom, how to build wealth, and, and coming out of Detroit, you know it yourself, I was working really early, I didn't make it to graduation. At that point, I almost made it. I was fitted for cap and gown. I took my senior pictures. My parents were waiting to hear, so when's graduation? But I jumped into the work world. I was ready to work. And so I never even finished graduating. And at that point, I was just, like I said, nobody I knew had any wealth. I didn't know anybody even owned a home. I just knew I wanted money, but I didn't know why. I didn't know for what. I just knew I wanted it. And so I went through a whole big development going through it. And so I teach people once it becomes the why, when you really find out why you want what you're after, and it changes. It makes things start to form for you a lot easier. It makes what you're doing a lot easier. And so it's a recurring theme, it seems, when I'm talking to different people in their different areas. The why comes up a lot. And this one, you say the goal, and that makes sense though. It's like, okay, so you want to put out a book, you want to do a podcast. What is your result? What are you looking to get off of that? And that makes sense. I can understand that.
I'm not against the why, by the way. I'm not against. I've just personally, when I'm talking about me, Adam Torres. I've just never been a big why person. I've never really. No, I just don't like. Some people have that driving thing, like, and I'm like, to me, it's just never been the thing. I feel like mine. I've just kind of been like on this train, and it goes faster and faster. I'm on the train. You get off, you might get hurt. Like, so sometimes it's easier to stay on the train. Like, I just have never had like that well-defined why. And I've tried, but mine is, when I did try to do that, it always changed, and it changed it changed enough to where I'm like, that's probably for me a little bit more of a goal. Like, it's a little bit more of a goal. Like when I was younger, looking at getting out of the city, what was the goal? To stay alive. Right. I wanted to live past 21, not be dead, and not go to jail. Yeah. Like, that was the goal. It wasn't that. Could I say that was my why? At that time, if I was to do a why exercise, that would have been my why. Yeah. I'm laughing, but that was the reality. You know, that was the reality.
It's the reality.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to avoid all of that myself, you know. Yeah. So no, it's the reality for sure.
Yeah. But by the way, I'm not married and I don't have kids yet. So I'm not saying that why is wrong. I'm just saying at this point in my life journey, that hasn't been the one. Maybe when I have kids one day or something, that could be like that thing that clicks it. But on my personal life journey, I'm slow, man. I told you, over 1,500 interviews to turn on the dang camera. I'm slow. It's okay.
Yeah, I had to get my son out of there. That was my push to get out of Detroit. I didn't want my son to grow up there. Yeah. And so, you know, maybe there is. I've been back to Michigan a lot since, and there's some beautiful
it's changed. Yeah, it's changed now a lot.
Well, downtown Detroit has changed. But always, the whole time, my entire life, there's still been some beautiful areas of Michigan.
For sure.
I didn't get outside of Detroit to ever see them. So I felt I just had to get out of the whole state. I just went to California. But, you know, there's some beautiful areas of Michigan that are, you know, just as nice. Well, the weather's not, but there's some beautiful areas.
I ain't about that anymore. I ain't doing that weather. Nah.
What's that?
I ain't doing the weather no more. I quit on that one.
No, I moved to the desert to get out of Detroit to thaw out. That's what I did. I went to the desert. I had to thaw out. I couldn't do it. So back to helping people. You told them, you know, you set the goal. But so people who are listening and they do want to level up, either in business or branding or communication, what should they actually be doing?
First thing is definitely starting to think about their online presence. It kind of blows my mind nowadays that people still don't think social media matters. They still don't think like their online presence matters. They still don't think they need a personal website. Like, your personal brand is the most important asset you have. It's the only thing that you're going to have throughout your entire career and life, period. Right now, you're telling me, David, you're in real estate. You might be in real estate the next 20 years. You might be, who knows? You might sell everything and do something else. Guess what? Your personal brand goes with you, period. Sure. And so your personal brand is your number one asset, period. The days of us being like behind, and I lived this life for many years. You got the corner office, you got the big windows, you got the big desk. People walk into your office, they're instantly impressed, and all of a sudden they want to do business with you. Did that for a long time. My office was on Avenue of the Stars in Century City, California, and that's how it worked. The market changed. Now somebody walks into an office like that, it's so what? Let me Google this guy. What can I find? Right. Let me look on AI. What does AI say about this? What does ChatGPT say about Adam Torres? Like, what is this? Like, have they written a book? Have they done what have they done? Like, how can I trust them? And guess what? If you don't show up, nothing shows up. That's just as bad as a red flag of having something that does show up. Yeah. Then people are wondering, why did this person get scraped from the internet? What are they trying to hide?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, that blows my mind. That's the number one thing. You have to start thinking about your relationship with your personal brand and how to create an authentic personal brand that represents you. It's not about fabricating. That's where sometimes people go wrong. They're like, oh, I have to be this person or like make this thing look a certain way. No, you don't have to. You just have to be authentic with who you are, but you have to you got to give the world something. If you want to grow a business.
I've lived what you're saying. You know, all this is brand new. This social media for me, I was never a guy that was into social media. You know, I'm
me neither.
Right. I'm more old school. I never wanted to post pictures of my food or where I was going. And I was just grinding. I was just trying to figure out what my path was going to be, how I was going to become, the no money millionaire. And I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And social media didn't have any interest in me. But once I've written the book and now once I'm trying to get out, people ask me, what's your social media? Provide all your links. And then they're like, well, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
And the door closes.
Yeah.
The door closes, you know, so, it's 100% what you're saying.
And one layer above, the people that do have it and are better at marketing, they get, there's only, I'm not a scarcity person, but you're talking to one investor, they're kicking the doors on your end and they're kicking the door on somebody else that they could find a bunch of stuff under. Is it the deciding factor? Maybe, maybe not, but for some people it will be. For some people, they'll go another route because they feel that the other person's more credible because they can find more stuff online about them that is showing that person in a positive light, period.
No, it's 100% true. I've seen, me, I'm turned down from stuff that I watch other people on and I'm like, wow, I could be telling you so much about what you're doing, but because I don't have any presence, I don't get past the door.
Yep.
So, so with that said, and maybe there's people right now that feel that they're late. They see everyone else creating content, building a brand and launching a show. So what do you say to that person who feels maybe it is too late? Maybe they're behind to get started.
I'd say that they're just not educated. It's okay. You're not educated in what's going on. I'll tell you the number one, and it's okay. It's okay to be naive. This just isn't your area of expertise. I'll give you an example, and because people are listening, like, what do you mean I'm not educated? It means that you just don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. I'll give you an example. I hear this all the time. Podcasting is saturated. Doesn't everybody have a podcast? There's too many. They just don't know the numbers. It's just math. It's numbers. So, and this is just fact. Right now, as of this recording, there's about 4 million podcasts out there. There's over 150 million YouTube channels. Podcasting is just getting started. We're like in year 1 of YouTube, even though it's been around for about 23 years as of this recording. Why? I wrote a whole book about it. 1 billion podcasts. Like that's the book and that's a big part I'm talking about. There's some reasons. I'll give you just one reason, just so, because I don't want to leave people hanging. I want them to understand. But one reason, YouTube in its original form, they had a YouTube Partners program really early on, which allowed dynamic advertising. What does that mean? That means that the creator can focus on creating and the ads run automatically on their content and they get paid. That didn't exist in podcasting. In podcasting, it was a host read ad. You had to read an ad, which means guess what? After you read that ad, you can't resell that episode, right? You're not going to take it down, re-record, put it. It's impossible. So the ads were what's called baked in. So this dynamic advertising that exists in podcasts is fairly new. Wow. So now, even though it's new in respect to like how long podcasting has been around, it now attributes over 80% of the revenue in podcast advertising, even though it's brand new. Yeah. Podcasting hasn't even started yet. Wow. That's the truth about podcasting. So for the people that are on the sideline that are like, there's 4 million or this, that, or if they're thinking that's a lot, it's going to be 100 million podcasts one day. Watch. And you're going to be looking at 4 million like, man, I wish I did it.
Sure. Well, so if someone was to take one action this week to move closer to building their brand or their platform, what would you advise them? What should it be?
I would say to take an assessment of what they enjoy doing. If you're a talker, do a podcast. Boom. Okay. If you're an introvert, you can't talk at all, whatever. Write a blog. Sure. Like assess what your type of thing is first. You don't want to be in front of a camera? Boom, do a podcast. Do an audio only podcast, right? Okay. You love being in front of a camera? Do a video podcast. Great. You don't like any of those? Write. You don't like writing? Collaborate. Find out a way that you could help somebody else with their show. Like there's still ways you can leverage and do something. But whatever you're doing, you want to make sure that you're creating something that you can see yourself doing and that's realistic with you, like looking inward. Now me, I told you I started with an audio only podcast. I couldn't turn on a camera, right? So that was a stretch. If I would have said that I was going to just go launch this platform and all these other things, would I have believed it? No. I couldn't turn on a camera and say my intro. I couldn't remember what my name was. So if you're listening and that's who you are, okay, well, I was there too. It's okay. Sure. But start something, and you can start small, and you can just keep trying and keep playing with it. And maybe you decide to one day get serious and your skill set grows, and then you can get better if you want to. And maybe you don't. Maybe you always stay with an audio podcast. There's no harm in that. Like people make a ton of money in that. So it's okay. But just figure out like what you feel you want to do in terms of delivery. Like that's and be okay with stretching yourself a little bit, because if you've never done anything before, then anything's going to be a little difficult in the beginning period. It should be.
It was definitely weird for me when I sat down and sat in front of a camera, turned that camera on, and I was like,
yep.
I was like, what? It's just, It's so different. It's so crazy. Everything's fine. I'm talking, and I know what I'm going to say. I know what I'm going to do. Everything's good. I'm hype. They're like, okay, camera's on. I'm like, so yes, anyone's listening. It's true. It happens, and you just, you get used to it. And my book, it took me a year to write my book.
Wow.
It took me a year to write it, and so it was a lot of work in progress, but I was writing it to a younger me. I was writing it to people that's from back home in Detroit, and I knew that spans across our country, but I was really focused on like a younger me coming out lost, and so I was writing it to that. So you're relentless about one thing: stories matter.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that so strongly?
I've seen it time and time again, not only in my journey, but in our clients, and they sell. I mean, and if you look at it bigger, look at Steve Jobs, what he did with the iPhone story. All of these big things that happen, stories move the world. So once you realize that, I didn't think that, by the way. I always thought that, I was a finance guy, and I thought that, clicking the buttons and moving the money moves the world. Sure. No, it's the story behind what even gets you to click that button. Yeah. That's what moves the world. Yeah. So period. That's where you want to be.
Yeah. And so why should everyone consider telling their own story, whether through podcast, book, or media?
If they don't do it, somebody else will do it for them. It's the first time in our life that we've ever had the opportunity to participate in, or I should say, in the first time in history that anybody can participate in telling their own story. In the past, it was the people that had the money, that had the wealth. You owned the printing press, you owned the ink. Go further back, you owned the papyrus, whatever it was they were using. Maybe you were around the campfire and you had the stick and it was your turn to talk. Maybe you were the one that had the intellect to be able to memorize long prose and then pass that down from generation to generation. You had some type of privilege that allowed you to tell your story, to take part. For those that don't do it now, you just don't get it. This is the first time we ever even could. Yeah. So to not do it, I mean, if you don't do it, it'll be just like the rest of history before this, which is somebody else writing your story for you, your family story, your history, the history of your people. Maybe they keep it, maybe they wipe it out. It's been done in the past. So that's up to you if you think it's worth it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I thought we were going to, once I learned you're from Detroit, I thought I was going to steer off course through some of the interview and hit a lot of Detroit facts with you, maybe talk about the Barry Sanders that you mentioned to me earlier. But it's been great. And so anyone's listening today, where can people connect with you, follow your work, or tap into what you're building?
It's super easy. Go to Instagram, Ask Adam Torres on Instagram. You'll see my link there. Get links to everything, the podcast, the books. We got free books, free ebooks. We give away more free content, I argue, than any other company of our size on the planet. So go on Instagram. If you got an idea for a show, a podcast, a book, anything like that, shoot me a DM on Instagram, Ask Adam Torres. And you'll again find the links to our website and all kinds of other cool stuff there.
Well, everybody listening, you heard that. A lot of good free content from a guy that's killing it in his industry. So you don't have any reason not to get out there, tap into that, get those free resources, and shoot them an idea you have. Let them help you get it out there. So this is the No Money Millionaire podcast. Adam, I appreciate and love that you came in and shared your time with us. Thank you so much.
Here's to 70 more, baby. Come on, episode number 8, episode 7. That's a lucky episode. I'm in, dude. Come on.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. 7, get them. Thanks for having me on, man. It's been a ball.
Thank you for your time.